They lost all their power when you stopped taking it personal. Welcome to my channel, guys. This your girl, Mommy So True. So good to have you. Take a moment to like, comment, and subscribe. Check out my description box for all information and details if you'd like to book life coaching sessions with me. Let's join the topic today. Make sure you leave a comment below. When you realize that this person was sick, there was a disorder attached to this dysfunction. The games weren't really gaming you anymore. What happened is now you started to see things exactly for what they were. What happened is now you started to learn how they truly operate. You started to pay attention to how they move, how they speak, how they twitch when they talk, how they, move their hands and toes when they're lying. You started paying attention to all their narcissistic mannerisms. You started seeing it clear. This is the moment that you became liberated. The moment you went from victim to a whole different status. Now you had the victory. Now you had the power to stop feeling so bad and stop taking on what was not yours. You made it very hard to control you now because you couldn't conform to what you knew was permanent chaos. They are trapped in their mind with these demons they're unable to fight. And they tried to make you feel like you were wrestling with something that was caused by you. They tried to make it seem as though it was your fault that they treated you how they treated you. So you constantly battled yourself to prove to yourself that you were good enough, that you were worthy. You didn't stay with them because you were a fool. You kept trying to prove to yourself that the craziness they were making you feel couldn't be. You were trying to figure it out. When you figured it out, that's when you freed yourself. You took a lot of power back when you stopped taking it personal. When you stopped looking at yourself and you started looking at them. When you took a closer look beyond what was on the surface. When you stopped trying to find reasons, excuses for what they were and what they were doing, and stopped trying to see or make sense of it based on what they told you, because they'll lie and say their exes did that, their moms did that, their family did this, their children did that, when the truth really is, this is a narcissist. And they're blaming everybody but themselves. They're pointing fingers at everyone but themselves. You were supposed to be so compassionate that you were stupid. Your love for them meant you were weak for them. Because you cared enough to try to understand, it meant that you were sticking around for betrayal for the rest of your life. They thought you were continuing to allow them to punish you in ways that you knew you did not deserve. Because they thought they were hurting you enough for you to continue to question yourself. What am I doing wrong? What am I not giving enough of? Am I not trying hard enough? Am I not putting enough time, enough hours? Am I not creative enough? Am I not doing enough? Am I just not enough? The moment you understood that they aren't enough and they know they're not enough and that they used you to hide behind a mask, that's the moment you became very powerful. That's the moment they became extremely weak. That's the moment you really took the mask off on your own. See, narcissists are trapped in their dysfunction, their delusions. They're trapped in their false narratives. And everything they did to you that caused your cardiovascular system to be all crazy, that tried to rewire your nervous system, had you mentally feeling like you just didn't want to live no more, couldn't live, couldn't function, had you feeling like you didn't know who you were because you were now fighting to be loved by somebody who you knew didn't love you, had you in this crazy, funk had you spiritually just bent out of shape, had you confused. The moment you realize that it was not because of you that they were how they were, it's not because of anything you did or couldn't do or had to do or wouldn't do, or it had nothing to do with you. It had nothing to do with you. It never did. That narcissistic parent, co-worker, friend, sibling, they've treated you this way because they are stuck this way. It is so liberating, and you're able to unlock those chains and free yourself from that bondage when you stop taking it so personal. When you stop blaming yourself for their treacherous soul, for their demonic and evil ways. When you stopped thinking that there was something you could do to make it better, there was anything that you could have sacrificed or given more of, less of, anything that you could have changed within yourself would have made them love you more, treat you with decency or respect. This is when you let go of a bondage that you didn't even know you were bonded to. You were enslaved to this person emotionally, maybe in other ways too, because of how good they are at what they do. Realizing that they really had the disorder that caused them to not have empathy, that they really lacked the spiritual growth to be able to be held accountable and take accountability, be responsible, have emotional maturity. When you realize they were incapable of truly loving, being real and authentic, when you notice that they were low vibrational, for real, that's why they future faked so much. That's why everything they said ended up being a joke, because they weren't real about it. They weren't telling the truth, and they didn't mean it. They didn't really want a relationship. They didn't really want a partner. They didn't really want that job. They didn't really want that business. They just wanted benefits. They wanted opportunities. They wanted what looked good and what would make them look good, what fit their image, what fit the illusion. They wanted you because you made them look good. They needed you to fill a gap, a supply gap. That's why you worked overtime. That's why you kept trying to make something work that wasn't designed to work. Not to work with someone like you. Someone who actually cares and want to give and want to actually be intimate and want to be vulnerable and want to be truthful and authentic and want to have fun in life. When you realize that them being a party pooper was not personal, them crashing your birthdays and destroying holidays, it wasn't personal. It had nothing to do with you. It's how sick they are. It's how miserable and unhappy they are. When you understood how much they would kill to have misery as company. This is the winner. When you understood that you're not a problem and they are. In a lot of cases, it makes you the problem. When you understood why they were never loyal, you freed yourself. When you started to understand why the sex was so weird, it had nothing to do with you. It had everything to do with them. And how overly sexualized they were. How sickly sexualized they were. The perversion was through the roof. This was not personal. This was a mixture of mental, psychological torture, and spiritual warfare. That's why when you stopped taking it personal, you started paying more attention to God's role in this. You understood what God was trying to teach you. You took the life lessons out of this. When you freed yourself and understood that they are stuck idealizing, devaluing, and discarding, they got worse. When you finally left, things didn't change. They weren't different. What they did was recycle their ways with someone new or someone they already had. The dysfunction continues. They are still doing the same thing, still keeping up the same narrative, still dysfunctional, still bummy, still broke, still laughing at their own cornball jokes, still hanging with the same people. still lying on you. They still can't keep a job. They still chasing a dead dream. They're still stealing, still all about image, still extremely selfish, still manipulating, still dirty, still sneaking behind people's back, still cheating on whoever they're with, still hiding behind that mask because they know how to pretend and act so good. They faking it till they make it. Still always looking for supply. I mean, come on. At this age, they're still online dating, still single, because really, don't nobody really want that narcissist. They might get people, but it don't never last long. That's why they still out here online dating and they 80. They still got these outrageous addictions, these scary insecurities, these violent tendencies. They still act like a whole child, especially when they don't get their way. They're still using people. They still hanging around their dysfunctional narcissistic family or friends, or they just lonely. They still cheat. They still think they all that in a bag of chips, even though their house is filthy. They still living on somebody else's credit, everything in his mama's name. They still on child support from the previous 5 baby mothers. They still ain't taking care of their children. They still out here doing criminal activity. So they still got that bad karma on their back. Still got bad luck. Still out here on people's wanted list. They still frauds. They committing fraudulent crimes right now as we speak. They still thirsty. Still hanging out at them bars, because they got them particular places they want to go and scavenger hunt, looking for supply. Old, thick, young, skinny, baby size. They'll even take them disabled. And they still stalking you. They still swear that they are the victim and that it's all your fault. That's why your disconnection from that dysfunction is life-changing for you. Because you get to take your power back. Your disengagement, it dismantles this big ego. Your disconnect reveals the fragility of that ego. It shows you how weak they really are inside. It shows you there was a coward living there the whole time. It shows you that they just enjoyed torturing you because they needed you to hate yourself. The moment you showed that you love yourself, they became weak. When you stopped taking it personal, you became unbothered. And this gave them a very uncomfortable itch because it revealed the narcissist that they were clearly. Everything you ever questioned, you had the answers. It wasn't you. It's not what you did. You weren't the cause of their reactions. It's the fact that they cannot control what they really are inside. They couldn't help but to reveal their true colors. They couldn't help but to keep letting you down because that's what they resemble. Disappointment. The pain of this narcissistic abuse becomes lighter when you embrace that this person is disordered. This person is disabled, dysfunctional, highly impaired, because people like this, entities like them, do exist. And that it had nothing to do with you. You just need to see the truth and stop taking it personal and take your power back. Please share your thoughts below in the comments. Don't forget to hit that like button. Thank you for watching today's video. Stay blessed, stay true, keep thriving. Until next time, beautiful people. Bye, guys.